Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and in today's vlog I will be reading 3 or 4 small town romances from Kindle Unlimited. I am 25% of the way through 2 of the reads for this video, so let's move to my kitchen while I make lunch and we can talk about them. We'll talk about the good one first, and then we'll go over the one that is rough. So I'm 25% of the way through Come Back For Me or something like that. I knew that I wanted to try out Corinne Michaels because I have heard nothing but fantastic things about her small town romances. So I knew that I needed to give her a shot, and I picked this one up because several of her romances are on KU, and I actually picked up 2 first books in different series, but I just picked this one up for this video. Anyways, this is about, let me try, in 2023 we're remembering names, or at least I'm looking them up on Goodreads so that I can tell you in the video, even if I don't remember. Connor and Ellie. Okay, so Connor and Ellie. Connor is an ex-SEAL who was recently injured and was honorably discharged. He goes back to the small town where he was raised because his father passed away, and they need to fix up the farm that is in his family to sell it. And part of his father's will is that each brother has to stay in this small town on the farm for 6 months in order for them to inherit this farm. And so he's the first brother that stays there for the 6 months. And years ago, I think it's like 7 or 8 years ago, he had a one-night stand with a woman that he didn't even learn the name of, but he like kind of became obsessed with her. He called her his angel, and they didn't exchange names or anything like that or any contact information, and it was just like a one-night stand. And then our heroine, Ellie, she's living on her husband's farm, and she has a 7-year-old daughter. She's been with her husband, married to her husband for 7 years. He is abusive. He hadn't escalated to hurting their daughter, but she was being abused. And there's a scene in the beginning of the book where her daughter, I think her name's Headley, something like that. She goes into Connor's, like a tree on Connor's property, and he finds her there because she can't get out of the tree. So he takes her back to her house, and he recognizes the signs of a child that's in an abusive household because his father, after the death of his mother, was an alcoholic and was abusive to them. And then when he gets to the house, he sees that that's the woman that he had the one-night stand with. He doesn't like make the connection that that could be his daughter, but it's pretty obvious to the reader that she's probably his daughter. A couple of days later, he is working in his barn, and the little girl comes and says, hey, will you ask my mom if I can come help you out on the farm? You know, she's home right now, so like let's go over and talk to her. And so she is out front, the mom's out front, they go to the farm, and the dad is there. He wakes up and he comes outside, they go inside, and he basically starts accusing her of cheating on him, and he says, if you leave me, I will kill both of you, and I'll kill her first and make you watch. So she's like, I have to get out. Like, there's no, like, I can't continue this. Like, I need to leave now. Even though I don't have anywhere to go, I don't have any money, which is what she was saving up to eventually leave him, but she had to save up money. And so she's like, we have to run. So in the middle of the night, she gets her daughter and they leave. They tried to leave and he catches them. So she tells her daughter, run away, find someone that will protect you, and I love you and all that. And so he's like beating her basically, and the daughter runs. She goes to Connor's house and says, you need to save my mom. He shows up and takes down Ellie's husband, and that's where the 25% mark is. I am enjoying it so far. The writing is, like, I would say a step above the average for a KU author. When it comes to writing for indie romances, I just need it not to be distracting, and I'm good. And that's kind of how we are here. I'm definitely feeling the emotion, but I'm happy that we're not lingering here. I've definitely read romances that are really heavy emphasis on the abuse and that I really enjoyed, but that's just kind of not the vibe that I'm going for, like that I want to go for rather, that I want to read right now. I'm happy that he has been apprehended, and hopefully going forward he's kind of in the peripheral and we don't have to see him on page. So I don't know where the story is going to go. I'm assuming she stays with him in some capacity, or they have some sort of relationship and go from there. But I've heard that Corinne Michaels is pretty emotional, so I'm excited to get into this. I'm pretty optimistic. I'm not usually a small town girly, but if it's really deep and emotional and heart-wrenching, then I think I could really enjoy it. I'm 25% of the way through Lyrics of a Small Town. This is very short. It's like 230 pages. And it's very bad. It's so clunky and hard to read that I have had to pick up, I've had to do the Alexa read to me thing. I read a review that said she wrote this in a week, and if that's true, like, you can definitely tell that she wrote it in a week and had no editor. It's incredibly clunky, it's incredibly hard to read, and so basically this is about a girl who goes to this small town where her grandmother lived after her grandmother passes away, and her grandmother left her in her will a letter that says, I need you to deliver these objects to these people. And part of her mission since her grandmother passed away is to do these things, which, by the way, her grandmother passed away with COVID. I read it and I was like, fuck. I don't want to read in romances COVID as like a thing, a part of the romance world, you know? Like, I get it if it's maybe like if it's 30 years from now and I'm reading about it in a romance, it's a little different, but like, we're not that far removed or removed at all from COVID, and I don't want to read about it in a romance. I read it immediately, it was like, fuck, like immediately took me out of the story. So she has this letter of these little tasks, and she keeps running into this dude named Saul. She got a job at a bakery, and she keeps running into these group of friends, and they seem to be very like rich boy, party all the time, like all of them. And she has like flirty banter with several of the guys, but it seems to be a romance with her and this guy named Saul. She is incredibly judgmental, like very judgmental, very, very annoying. Someone calls her out on her being judgmental and she's like, yeah, you're right, and then just goes back to being judgmental. In addition to that and the writing, I have read Goodreads reviews that said like the relationship isn't that great, that like Saul isn't a great hero, but we haven't really gotten much from him thus far, and I'm 25% in of a 200-page book. I'm probably going to read the Corinne Michaels first, and then probably continue to use Alexa to read to me Lyrics of a Small Town, or whatever the hell it's called. I'm not interested in that one. Like, I know it's really short, but the fact that it's really short and I'm dreading it that much, yeah. If you have any other Abby Glines, I think that's her name, that you really enjoy, let me know, because I've heard great things about her, and I look at the Goodreads reviews and it's like, this is not her best, and I want to know like her good books, because this one is not it. So I'm gonna go eat my lunch and read Come Back For Me, and we'll talk when I'm like 50% of the way through one of them and have some thoughts, or maybe I finish Lyrics of a Small Town. That's what it's gonna be called for the rest of the video. I don't know if that's actually what it's called, but that's what we're going with. We'll talk. Okay, friends, I am 50% of the way through Come Back For Me and Lyrics of a Small Town. Lyrics of a Small Town, still not enjoying. And then Come Back For Me, I'm enjoying it more, but I'm not feeling any sort of emotional connection to the relationship. There's a scene where you're in the hero's point of view and he says something along the lines of like, I'm in love with her. They had a one-night stand and he saved her from this really traumatic event, and now they're sort of like living together while her and her daughter are recovering. But that's not grounds for love, and we're not really getting a lot of emotional development in their relationship. They just have like these big, you know, moments of big declarations of love. It's the 50% mark, so I'm assuming they're gonna get together sometime soon. I am liking the fact that there is a child in the story, which is so shocking to me because that's like one of my biggest pet peeves, and I think it's because the child doesn't feel like a plot device, something to either keep the couple together or apart, or like endear one character to the other. She feels like like an actual character, which I'm enjoying. If it's a romance, you want to feel the romance, right? So hopefully, because she has, you know, gone through this trauma and stuff, we get if you ever see water glasses in the back of my my videos, we keep water glasses for our cats randomly around the house because they like to drink out of glasses. Like, it's gonna be like a 3-star, I think, when I finish it, unless it like vastly improves in the next 50%. I'm just not, it's not that I'm not feeling generous towards it, I'm just not feeling anything towards it. And I haven't looked at reviews, so I don't know if this is like the least favorite in the series, if this is just like the starting point and the other books in the series are better. I have watched like a couple of people talk about her books, but I didn't commit to memory what they were saying about them. So Lyrics for a Small Town is gonna be like a 2-star. I just can't get past the writing. The writing is just so bad and it just needs tighter editing. And like I said, with indie writers, with indie books, I don't expect much. Like, I don't ask for much, just don't be distracting. And this is like very, very distracting. So we'll be back when I am finished with something and I have like a lot of thoughts to give to you about them. Okay, friends, I have several book updates for you. I ended up finishing Come Back For Me, Come Back For Us, and I did give this 3 stars. I just didn't really feel a deep emotional pull to this. Like, I didn't feel anything for the relationship. I did enjoy the like found family element and, you know, the hero discovering he had a daughter. I enjoyed that, but the relationship itself I didn't feel much for. But I will say one thing that this book did is like kind of made me understand why people read single parent romances. It's never something that I really enjoy. I don't really like kids in books, and I don't really like single parent because often I find that the kid is used as a plot device. And I can understand why either someone that grew up without a father or who has raised children on their own would find it cathartic to see particularly a single father. It's just not like my experience at all. I don't like really reading it all that much. So I will say the kid in this book was like actually part of the story, and I appreciated that. Like, she had her own personality and all of that, and there was a heavy focus on her integration with the hero and all of that, so I appreciate that. But again, the romance did nothing for me. It's very slow, very quiet, and that's just not really my jam. There's not really like a bunch of conflict in the relationship till the very end, which the conflict at the end felt odd. So yeah. And then I did end up DNFing the Abigail lines. Like I said, the writing was just unbearable for me, and like I was pushing through, but if I hadn't been reading it for this video, I would have DNF'd it, and so I'm just gonna DNF in that case. Like, I was not enjoying the story. It wasn't gonna be something that could possibly be a 5-star for me, and I'm not reading books that couldn't possibly be a 5-star. I am now, I'm 30% of the way through Juniper Hill. If I end up calling it Indigo Ridge, I'm sorry. I think that's the first book in this series, which is what I meant to pick up. But you know, the second one I'm 30% of the way into, and I don't know how I've managed to pick up another single parent. I don't know if that's like a common thing in small town romances or not. But this one is about a woman who was a previous New York socialite, came from a really rich family, and from what I gather, she got pregnant and they wanted her to give up the baby, and if she didn't give up the baby, they were going to take all of her money from her, and she said she wasn't gonna give the baby up. I think it's only like 2 months after the baby's been born, and she has left New York to come to Juniper Hill, which I think is in like Montana or something like that, and she is staying in the hero's like garage apartment with her baby, and she's working at the hotel that his family owns, and it's pretty emotional. Like, the hero, from what I gather, maybe lost a child in his past, and so he has a lot of grief and heartache around seeing other babies, especially, you know, the heroine's baby, because she's essentially living with the baby. And the heroine is dealing with basically the like loss of everything she knew in her life, the loss of her family. She doesn't talk to her family anymore. She is basically broke and having to, you know, struggle to take care of herself and her child. She has a brand new baby and she doesn't really know how to take care of him. She feels like she's failing. So it's just a really heavy book. And the relationship isn't necessarily like the most, like they don't have the most chemistry, but again, it is emotional. The hero has been slowly revealing his past, and we don't know too much about the heroine, but the baby is not sleeping through the night. So they now like spend the night together. He'll like hold the baby until the baby falls asleep, and then she can sleep, and then they all sleep or whatever. To combat that, I started Flawless, which is way different tonally than Juniper Hill. This one's very funny. I'm only about 10% of the way through. It's very charming. It is about Rhett, who is a bull rider, and in the beginning of the book, he is managed by the heroine's father's management company. Rhett's somewhat of like an influencer or a celebrity bull rider, and he was caught on camera saying that he hated milk, and this sort of pissed off a lot of his milk sponsors. So the heroine has been tasked with taking care of him to make sure that he doesn't piss off any more of his sponsors. So it's very funny. Just the whole premise to me is wild. I really enjoy the author's writing. It's very fun and kooky, but well done. So it definitely offsets Juniper Hill very well, and I'm just really enjoying it. So that's that. Those are the two things that I'm reading. I'll probably update you at the 50% mark, and hopefully I'm enjoying them. I would love to get a 5-star out of this video and prove myself wrong that I'm not a small town girly, but it's not going super well so far. I could see Flawless being like a strong 4-star, possibly Juniper Hill being a strong 4-star, but we'll see. So we will talk later. Okay friends, let's talk about the last 2 books for this video, and then we can wrap it up. I ended up finishing Juniper Hill a couple of days ago, and I decided to give this 3 stars. I was enjoying it at first. Once they got together, it just lost all of the steam for me. Like I said, early hookups and or stories where there's no conflict within the relationship aren't necessarily my thing, and I felt like all of the emotional turmoil that the characters were going through sort of resolved themselves once the relationship started, and then it became like external conflicts. So I then finished Flawless, and I was going to update you at the 50% mark, but like this is a very like typical romance, so I didn't really have anything crazy to say, but I am happy to report that I gave this 5 stars. I think this was my first 5-star romance of the year. I loved it so much. It was so good. It was lighthearted and fun and a little bit quirky and wild, but also very emotional when it needed to be. There was the intense chemistry between the characters. It was hot, it was delightful, and it just was perfect. I think all of the emotional elements in the story just really hit home. The hero was very much used to being the like left behind person who didn't have the right career that everybody in his family rooted for, and he was just looking for attention and love. And the heroine was used to taking care of everybody around her and keeping all of these secrets so that everybody around her would have a good life, which is incredibly relatable. And they were both just relatable characters, and I think they worked very well together, and it was just delightful. I definitely understand why people love this book, and I'm very excited to move on to the second one. It is a single parent, so I don't know quite how that's going to go, but I've heard nothing but amazing things. So yeah, this is like, I'm very excited to read more by this author. I didn't know quite how I would feel because I want to love hype books, like I really do. Like I read all these hype books because I want to love them and like be part of the crowd that loves them, and I just generally don't for one reason or another. But I'm very excited that I like this one, and I can say that like regardless of what sort of books you usually read, you probably will enjoy this one. It was just a delight. The relationship was so filled with chemistry and angst, and like they just fit so well together, and it was funny, and the premise was funny, and it was entertaining, and it wasn't too long, and yes, just loved it so much. I have no complaints. I can't think of a single complaint to voice because I don't have any. It was delightful, 5 stars, so excited to continue on. I will say I don't think I'm usually like a small town girl. Based on my response to the other books that I read for this video, I just don't think that they provide a level of angst that I'm looking for. I could surely be wrong, like I've only read a handful of them, so I definitely am down to read more. So let me know down in the comments recommendations that you have aside from Elsie Silver. If you have other authors that you think I will enjoy, definitely let me know. I might continue with the Devney Perry series. Let me know if it's like less low angst in the other books, because I've heard that these are angsty and this just didn't really feel that way. I liked the couple, but it just didn't really do much. If you don't have anything to say, leave some sort of farm animal down in the comments. If you are looking for more content from me, you can check out my Instagram or my podcast Instagram. You can also check out my podcast on all your favorite streaming platforms. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next one.